Hello and welcome to the Story Behind the Stories, your weekly look at the pages of the Neepawa Banner Press. Welcome once again to the show. Appreciate you taking a little bit of your time and spending it right here with us. I'm Eoin Devereux, news and sports reporter with the Banner Press, joined this week by Casper Wehrhahn. Casper, good to have you in again this week.
Good to be here once again, and we certainly have a lot to talk about. There was so much activity going on this past weekend.
Boy, howdy was there. And you're going to see that activity on the front page in beautiful color, grand, and just unbelievable. Now, if you want to get a closer look at it, you're going to have to pick up a physical copy of the Banner Press anywhere in Neepawa or the surrounding communities around the area, or you can find it on mywestman.ca. But there was so much on the go, as Casper said. The biggest one, of course, was the Riverbend Makers Market, the second Riverbend Makers Market. It was an inaugural event last year, put on by Neepawa Tourism. This year, because it was so well received last year, we decided, as if you're a familiar, loyal viewer of the show, you know I'm a representative of Neepawa Tourism. You'll know that we expanded it this year with the Rockin' the Riverbend event. Essentially, several independent musical groups, bands came in and did a concert on Saturday night, and it was a lot of work, a lot of effort, Casper, and I'd love to take credit for it myself, but this wasn't me. This was the individuals such as Kelsey Wilson, Jeff Descender, Marilyn Crew, all of that, and every other representative. I was so hands off this year, honestly, Casper. I can't take any credit. There's a lot of those people and then some really stepped up and went above and beyond.
Yeah, that's really awesome. I know last year it did really well, and it was planned to be expanded this year. I didn't get a number for how many vendors they had this year, but I think they had more. Is that correct?
That is right. We did. I don't remember the exact number off the top of my head, but we did have about 3 more vendors than last year. It went over really well. The reception we got from the vendors, they were very pleased with it. About 85% of it was all positive last year, the response. 1 or 2 little negative things, but nothing too bad. It's not like I'd never come into Neepawa or this event again. It was like, maybe tweak this, change this for next year. And we took those ideas and we took them to heart. And hopefully in the future edition of the Banner Press, we're going to have a full story about how things played out with the Makers Market. And we'll be able to share with you just exactly how successful the event was. And of course, with that as well was the concert. It was a nice eclectic mix of musical tastes. I'm getting to that age now, Casper, where maybe music is getting too darn loud for me. I couldn't stick around too long for the last couple bands, but I've heard it was very well received.
Good, yeah, that's awesome. I think something like this has been missed in and around the community for a while, not just because of COVID, but certainly in part because of that, not having the ability to do quite as many events like this, but as well with specificity to Neepawa. Yeah, I know we used to have the Lily Festival, and that was a big thing all the time, and people would come from all sorts of different places, even different countries, to come here for that. And I don't remember when that stopped, but I know that with the sort of like a revival of a similar event with, the Riverbend Makers Market coming into play last year, and then of course the addition of music this year with the Rockin' Riverbend. I think that brought in probably quite a few people that were looking for something very similar to that.
Well, no, you're right about that. Last year's inaugural event, when we got down to the numbers in terms of where people were coming from, it seemed to be about a 60-40 split. People in Neepawa and surrounding Neepawa were the 60, and 40%, like a half hour or beyond Neepawa, 40% of the visitors seemed to be from that area. And we decided to address that this year. We did a lot more aggressive efforts to do marketing and merchandising outside of our local catchment area. because Neepawa tourism is about bringing in those new dollars into Neepawa businesses, into the community of Neepawa. And I'm hopeful that we were able to do it this year. We really tried to hit Brandon hard in terms of getting the message out there, as well other areas such as Dauphin, Winnipeg, Portage la Prairie, certain areas within that driving distance. Because again, you don't want to do advertising to like Vancouver or Toronto, because
Right.
with all due respect, they're not going to show up for a day trip to Neepawa.
Unlikely, yes.
Yeah.
They'll probably want to be around for something a little bit longer than a day.
Exactly. Now that's hopefully we're going to get some good news when we have a chance to sit down and finally discuss the numbers as a collective for Neepawa tourism. Also, hopefully going to have some positive news for the Rock and the Riverbend. Jeff Descender really stepped up on that. He's the owner and operator of Frozen Fire Studios just on the edge of Neepawa there. Great little studio. If you're a loyal reader of the Banner Press, you know that story. We did that story about a year, maybe a year and a half ago, talking about it. Maybe it's probably might be due for an update on that then. We'll have to sort of keep that abreast on our radar. So that went very well, and was very pleased to be able to share in some small way that. But it wasn't even just the Makers Market or Rock in the Riverbend, things put together by Neepawa Tourism. One of the things we wanted is we wanted the community to step up. Now that was one thing about last year. Neepawa at times, and I don't think I'm telling tales out of school, has a wait and see attitude when it comes to new events or new things. And maybe the businesses last year did have that wait and see attitude, and they saw exactly how successful the event was. So there were several businesses, Arts Forward Cultural Center, for example, saw the value and partnered. They had an event, a whole day of festivities at the Arts Forward building. Farmery Estate Brewery as well, they saw the value in it and they partnered as well to sort of do something. And it was really great to see that. And it was part of what was known as Welcome Aboard the Raft. So that was great. It was almost like a little treasure trove, scavenger hunt type thing. You go down to the Riverbend Market and you receive this little card. It's like, go here and they'll stamp your card, and then you go here and they'll stamp your card, and you're eligible for a little prize type thing. And from the bits and pieces I heard, it went over well. Not everyone did it. Not everyone was in the mood to do it. Hey, that's understandable. Maybe art's not your thing. Maybe beer's not your thing. But those that did, from the little I heard, they really sort of liked being able to hit all those marks. And we were very pleased that they saw the value in it. There were several businesses as well that did special events, sales that day. So we're very pleased that they saw the value in it as well. Hopefully that does become that benchmark event for Neepawa and that benchmark weekend for Neepawa once again. So part of that as well, Casper, and we haven't touched on this, was Lily Days was happening at the exact same time as well. Took a tour down there and stopped and smelled not the roses, but the lilies.
Yeah, that's I know that is always a draw for people as well. The Lily Nook up there has a wide variety of lilies and a few other flowers too, I believe, but lilies are the big draw.
Yeah.
And it's always just a marvelous display that they have out there, and you'll even get invited sometimes to go down and take a look at their lily fields, because they do have some fields not too far from their shop as well. And they always have their annual flower contest too, so you can take a look at sort of the flowers that people have been putting a lot of effort into to try and get the top prize there.
That's right, and it's become a tradition for a lot of people who enjoy that particular type of flower and gardening. Had an opportunity to speak with people who were in from just St. FX, just on the outskirts of Winnipeg. They said they came every single year. They love to be able to attend it, pick up some flowers, some flourishes for their home. Always love to be able to hear that. Speaking to representatives there, they were talking about people from Saskatchewan who come in on a regular basis. They'll have 4 or 5 of them come together, sort of make a day trip of the whole thing, and that's great. That is so wonderful to hear, and very appreciative. Sometimes we forget how special these types of little things in our community are. Things like Arts Forward, things like the Lily Nook, and things like just all of it combined. And one other thing that occurred, which is great, it coincided, and we didn't do this on purpose, actually, but it was a nice little pleasant combination. The Yellowhead Roadrunners had their drag races out at the airport on Saturday, so it all coincided. It was almost like it was planned.
Yeah, I was actually going to mention that. It's really awesome how different people and organizations sort of coordinated so that different events would coincide with the Makers Market intentionally, and then of course with the coincidences of some other events happening on the same day as well. It really sort of made it like a great big, like town-wide almost sort of event. So I think we give that strong sense of unity and community, and just give people a lot to do and see over the weekend.
That's right, and you can find out more about that, the weekend as a whole, in this week's edition of the Banner Press. Now, I was the one that was assigned sort of hitting all those points in Neepawa. You weren't able to the same degree, Casper, because you were out and about on the road, weren't you?
Yes, I was. I was actually a bit a ways from Neepawa there on the 23rd. I took my first ever trip up to Plumas. I'd never been there before, and it was for a good occasion. The annual Plumas Lions Club parade was returning that day. It hadn't been able to be held for a bit there, just with regulations and stuff, so it made its comeback, and people were very happy to see it out there on the streets. A nice little small parade there, and thankfully the weather, although it was threatening to rain, and had been for a few days prior as well, the rain did hold off for that, so that was great. There was an assortment of vehicles out there, some different old farm machinery, an army jeep, and a bunch of other different stuff, candy being handed out to everyone who came out to watch, so that was great as well. I did get some, thank you. Much appreciated, a little snack for my trip. And of course after that they had their pancake breakfast too, and I unfortunately didn't stay for that because I had some other plans right after this event, so I had to book it home once I was done taking my photos. But the pancakes smelled great. Everyone gathered at the skating rink right after the parade to line up, and I didn't use the photo, but literally the line was going out the skating rink to like the end of the corner there. So a lot of people eager to get in there and enjoy a delicious pancake breakfast with some sausages and drinks, and to help out a good cause as well. I don't believe I went into specifics here. I went into a little bit more detail in the previous story for this, but all of the funds raised from the pancake breakfast was going to a local family there to help them pay for some chemotherapy treatments. So a very, very good cause.
Really nice to hear that such a day was able to be used in such a positive manner as well to support a local family in their time of need. If you want to find out more, you can find that. A bunch of pictures. Casper, you got them on page
12.
12?
Yeah.
Yep, page 12. Oh, we gave you one of the color pages. All right.
Yeah.
Great. All right. Although, yeah, because sometimes the color plates, they're in demand. But we were able to share that festivities with you live and in living printed color. Now, if you're looking for something to do in the near future, just going to quickly reference this. Our center spread this week is for the Gladstone Fair, which is coming up this weekend, depending, of course, when you're watching this. So they're going to be having festivities, or no, not this weekend. It's next weekend, August 5th. Oh, God, we're into August.
I know.
Oh, jeez.
July's already ended. I don't know. I say this like all the time on the show. I swear I do. But this keeps happening. How does this keep happening? The month just goes by, and it's like just yesterday it was the start of the month, and I blinked, and now it's the end, and we're going into the next one.
That's right. But again, August 5th to August 7th, The fair is going to be happening in Gladstone. They are so excited to be able to be doing this again in the way they'd done before COVID-19 and the restrictions and all those requirements were put into place. So they are really hoping to make it bigger and better than you have ever seen before. And that's very likely something we're going to be talking about in the near future in the pages of the Neepawa Banner and Press. Very much looking forward to that. All right, let's get a little more serious with some of the things we're talking about. Some actual news of purpose and scope on page 2. I had the opportunity, wasn't quite as much fun, although it was fun in a different way for me. Wasn't quite as much fun as the Makers Market, but I attended a town council meeting, as well as all the usual shenanigans and goings-on that occur in any community's council meeting. There was a special session held, and it had to do with some of the land located just east of Broadway Avenue. If you're not familiar with the location of Broadway Avenue in Neepawa, I'll try and paint the picture for you. It's essentially the road going up towards the Golf and Country Club. On the east side is essentially an open field for the most part. On the west side, there's some beautiful camping just on the south end. As you drive a little further north, some unbelievable houses there. It's a really nice neighborhood that they've got on the west side of Broadway Avenue. And it was those individuals, those property owners in that area that came to council to address some concerns. Council right now is looking at redistricting, rezoning a section of land just east of Broadway. The way it plays out right now is they're looking at potentially changing it from agricultural into a type of multi-unit complex potential. I just want to emphasize right now, it's not like they're building something there. They're not building condos or apartments there right now. There's nobody officially that we know of that is looking to build. It's not like if it gets second and third reading, the very next day somebody's going to start digging with a shovel into the ground there. To the best of our knowledge right now, there is no one interested in that at this moment. They're just planning for the future. Because let's be honest, even though it hasn't been said officially yet, if you, again, are a consistent reader of the Banner and Press, you know exactly where it seems the new hospital in Neepawa will be going. We once again said we cannot say with 100% confirmation that it will be going in that area just right next to Broadway, but we're kind of confident about it. 84, 85% confident. We'll go with that, Casper, just to give ourselves a little bit of wiggle room.
Yeah, I think 85. 85 is good.
Maybe to be safe. It was a front page story we had in the paper a few months ago. Once again, we don't have official confirmation just yet. Everybody's making sure that they can dot the I's and cross the T's. This that we're discussing right now, though, about the multi-unit complexes, is a separate entity altogether, maybe trying to be a little proactive with that. And that's where the homeowners have some concerns. And I'll throw some of my opinion in there. I sort of agree with them on this, yeah. The concern they had is that these multi-units, very similar, could be very similar to what's known by a lot of people in town as the Rainbow Apartments, the Rainbow Complex just at the corner there of Broadway that were put in there a few years ago. Could be very similar to the new apartment complexes which are being put up on the CN property. And they feel like that, from an aesthetic point of view, is absolutely, positively wrong for the area. These individuals said they're not against new housing. They understand that Neepawa is a growing and thriving community, but they would like to lean towards single units. Now, again, all these technical single dwellings, multi-unit dwellings, what it means is apartments versus individual houses. They'd prefer individual houses in that area if you're going to put anything in there. They feel like it works best with what is already there. During the summer especially, people driving into Neepawa to go to the golf course, they'll see it. It's right there in front of them. They want it to be something beautiful, something special. So, and I agree with them 100%. Maybe I'm wrong on this. Maybe. I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong again. But, you know, that's my 2 cents. What about you? Throw in 3.5 cents of your own.
3.5. All right.
Inflation.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a lot of valid concerns, honestly. I, of course, not living in that specific area of Neepawa, I don't sort of have as much experience with that section of the town, and I don't go down by there often, but...
You don't have a golf membership? You're not.
No.
You're not playing the back nine every weekend. No.
I know, shocking. Me not having golf membership. Wow.
As I say, is last time I played golf, I think is older than you are. Quite honestly, it was the '90s. You know, cell phones were big back then. I just know that.
Oh gosh, but yeah, I have to admit, whenever I hear about that particular area, and specifically in regards to the multi-housing units that's there, it's never really been a good thing.
Yeah.
It's always been for XYZ reason. That's just like, oh yeah, this is like horrible.
But let's emphasize again, not for the people that are living there, though.
Yeah.
And it emphasizes it in the story that the landowners, not from around the area, but the landowners, the individuals who bought the land from local interests a few years ago and ended up building, they're just so hard, apparently, to get in touch with and sort of keep things going there. You're 100% right about just... Yeah, that's an issue that was brought up as well during the meeting. So.
Yeah, it's really a shame because, like, single housing is good and it looks really nice. And there is a place for multi-units as well. For apartments, it can be a good way to just get a start, so long as, you know, the rent is okay, because renting itself can be really, really pricey, so it can even be hard to get a start that way too. But if it's an affordable renting space, then it is a great way to sort of have your first starting space and hopefully get into something later on, or if it works for you, then, you know, stay there. But I think it is really important to have that sort of local, you know, owner and management of the land, because then otherwise you get a situation like the rainbow housing units, and it even though it's sort of out of the hands of the people that live there or the town, because the person that owns it is so hard to get in touch with, it reflects badly on the town and potentially the tenants as well. It's like, you know, they're the people living there, but they also don't really have, you know, all the stuff that's, like, it's the owner's job to take care of all these different things, and they're just not doing that. So yeah, it's really a shame.
Yeah, again, this is probably going to be a story that we're going to be talking about for an extended period of time. Most likely, second and third reading will be reviewed on this. If it's approved, then there's going to be other things. If it's changed, then we're going to elaborate on that. This is something that I think we'll have to keep an eye on for a little bit. So, interesting to see. And if you'd like to learn a little bit more about it, you can find that on page 2. A2, we have 2 sections this week. Our Farmer's Advocate as well appears in this week's paper. And you can find that story on page A2, along with just some council briefs that we discussed. Other little things that popped up. There's not going to go too in-depth into it right now, but these are the types of important things as a ratepayer, as a property owner, as a citizen of Neepawa, I think you need to know. Even if it doesn't even if you think it doesn't directly affect you, it does. We talk about the Canada Day festivities, the impact, the financial impact of that. We also talk about some new purchases by the town of Neepawa. So those are the types of things. Don't make it feel like it's not homework. Don't feel like it's homework, but it's one of those things that if you're a citizen of your community, I think you need to know. And I try to make it relatively painless. Sorry, Freudian slip. I tried to make it relatively painless for you, so hopefully you'll be able to breeze right through it and get to the entertaining stuff a little further down the way. we're running a little low on time right now. We could have, I want to definitely talk about this and give this a few minutes, Casper. This is one of the fun things I was talking about. Had an opportunity to talk to local business owners, new local business owners, and very much enjoyed doing the research for this story because it was delicious.
I was gonna say, it looked like really tasty research.
That's right. It was Uncle Tom's Burgers. It's been in Neepawa, and it's been running since June. We did a story when we wanted to give it a little bit of time in order to sort of get its clientele and get a feel for everything. It's located just on the edge of Neepawa, just by the car wash, a 3D car wash there, owned by the Devereux family. Had an opportunity to speak with Reg and all the family members about it, about why they decided to sort of get back into it. If you're familiar with their history, they did own Uncle Tom's Restaurant just on the outskirts, on the edge of Minnedosa for many years. Very well regarded. They decided to jump back into the food services, and they're doing it in a new, unique way with this burger joint, this portable, transportable burger joint, as it were. So they talked about why they wanted to get back into it, the reasoning for the timing of it right now, and what they hope to do with it in the future. And of course, always love to be able to share these types of stories on local businesses and local individuals. So I do appreciate them taking the time to share some of that detail with me. And like I said, we've been talking, Casper, off air about just how good the burgers were, and they are. They're a nice little treat every once in a while.
Yeah. I still have to try it for myself, but I keep looking at the photo on the page. I'm like, I really want that burger. I need to go and try it. It looks amazing. And I actually do remember when I was a wee lad, at least a bit younger and shorter than I already am right now, making drives to go into Brandon, because that's where my grandparents live. We'd stop now and then at Uncle Tom's because it was still around for a while when I was a bit younger. So I can't recall how the interior of the restaurant looked, but I remember enjoying the food. So who knows, maybe I'll stop by there at some point very soon and have some good memories and delicious food. That's
right, and you can check out Uncle Tom's Burgers, of course, here in Neepawa. That's the one thing, Mendoza has this over us, Casper. We're so big right now, we have a lot of franchises, which is nice, of course, but it's those home-style local places that sort of lose out. And Minnedosa's got a bunch of those great local home-style places, more than Neepawa. But hopefully this means a turnaround. Hopefully that means more local restaurants like this will be popping up in the future.
Yeah, I'd really like to see that because, I mean, don't get me wrong, the places that are like franchises and do food, they can be quite good, but it's really sort of the smaller places like Brews Brothers or Uncle Tom's that are really, really special, and just there's something extra about it that just makes the food just taste even better than you could ever get at a franchise. Maybe it's the extra love and care and the good atmosphere, who knows, but we really do need more of that kind of place in Neepawa and in other places too that are sort of lacking that really sort of like homemade quality, I guess, is best I could probably put it.
That's right. Now, we could go on definitely about this, and there's so much more we could be talking about. We got stories like the 9 p.m. routine in this week's edition of the paper, our Farmer's Advocate, our weekly Gladwin Scott update from the community of Carberry. Always appreciated, Gladwin, but we just ran out of time. So you got to pick up a copy of the paper or check it out on mywestman.ca. And if you have story ideas, contact us at 476-3401, the number you can reach us at, or at news@neepawabanner.com. Any idea, suggestions, always appreciated. So for Casper, I'm Owen Devereux. Thank you for tuning in to the story behind the stories.